I'm gonna need some protection for this one. Today I'm going to be working on a pair of Sport Blue Jordan 3's from 2014. These shoes are in absolutely nasty condition. It's definitely going to be a tough restoration. Not only is the tongue cracking, but there is paint on the Jumpman, which I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to get that off yet. Along with a few other problems, there are large separations between the upper and the midsole of the shoe. And as normal for a shoe of this age, the back tabs are starting to crack. But the worst part about this shoe is that there is black mold on the tongue. I'm not even sure how someone could let this happen to a pair of shoes, but honestly I'm not even sure if that material is savable. The outsoles have definitely been heavily worn, but as well, I'm probably going to go ahead and throw them in the icebox to help clean them up. To start off, I'm going to cut the stitching on the toe box so that I can get full access to the upper of the shoe. I'm almost 80% sure that the person who previously owned these shoes tried to use super glue to re-glue the upper and the midsole together, just because the acetone did nothing against the glue. Since the midsole is toasted, I'm going to go ahead and take off the outsole from the midsole, so when I get the donor pair I can put the outsole on easily. Before I throw the outsoles into the icebox, I'm going to go ahead and give them a nice light cleaning so that the dirt stains don't get stuck in the outsole. Before I decide what to do with the upper of the shoe, I'm going to go ahead and clean it up. Along with the mold on the upper, the elephant print on both shoes is oddly very stiff. I'm not exactly sure why that is. I'm going to go ahead and leave the outsoles in the icebox for several 12-hour sessions to hopefully get a nice blue finish on them. I'm going to go ahead and throw the uppers into the washing machine along with the insoles just to see if I can get them cleaned up a little better. Now with the uppers in the washing machine, I'm going to go ahead and sand off the large amount of white paint on the outsole. I earlier tried to use acetone and cotton balls, but it didn't do very much. I'm starting off with 80 grit just because of how thick the white paint is, and after that I'll see if I'll move up in grit or if I'll just let it be. Now I'll just use a seam ripper to get all the stitching off of the back tabs. After giving it some thought, I decided I'm going to go ahead and replace both the elephant print and the gray fabric on both shoes. After using some fabric softener and just normal shoe cleaner, both of the materials were just in bad condition. I decided that this was just the best option overall. Here you can see all of the bits that I took off of both shoes. I am going to try and see if I can salvage the elephant print for a later restoration, but I'm not sure if that will happen. While cutting off all the old material, I just used a combination of an X-Acto knife and a seam ripper. This made it very easy to get all the stitching off both shoes. And here it is, the donor pairs. I was lucky enough to find another pair of Sport Blue 3's. These shoes have been at least restored once in their lifetime, as the midsoles and the back tabs are not in any sort of damage or cracking. And luckily the gray fabric looks almost brand new on both shoes. The outsoles are also in an outstanding condition, which I'm very happy about. Because the sock liner is ripped on these shoes, that is why I'm using them as the donor pair for this restoration. If you watched the video to this point, it'd be greatly appreciated if you went ahead and liked and subscribed. This is definitely one of the hardest restorations I've shown on the channel and overall in my career of restoring sneakers. Finally, I have all the bits and pieces off the donor pair and ready to go on to the original pair. I didn't originally plan on it, but I ended up taking the heel counters out of the donor pair. For some reason on both shoes, the heel counters were just crumpled in for some reason. I'm not sure if it was due to wear or just to heat. Before I stitch everything back together, I'm going to go ahead and take the pieces off the donor shoe and just clean them up. Before I re-stitch everything back to the uppers of the shoe, I went ahead and laid down a few coats of black paint. But before that, I used some cotton balls and acetone and some 400 grit sandpaper to get the surface smooth. Even though there aren't any imperfections on the midsole, I'm going to go ahead and put down a few coats of white paint onto the outsole. Since I do not have a sewing machine, I had to stitch everything back together by hand. This was definitely a lengthy process. On the piece here that I'm stitching, I ended up having to go back after this video to go ahead and stitch it back together, just because I had done a really poor job on it. I did try to use all the original holes that the Jordan brand would have used, just to make the shoe look as original as possible. Finally, before I put the shoes back together, I'm going to go ahead and use a Dremel with a sanding bit to go ahead and sand down the midsole to get a perfect fit.